Good morning, everybody. I don't know, maybe, Yosef, you want to send me a text or something? I didn't hear what you said. Last minute from Fischl. That's what I heard.
Just send you a WhatsApp.
Okay. We have to have special kavana today for Reza Gittel Bas Esther, Mrs. Epstein, not doing well. And also one of our big part of the shir, Ephraim Friedman, his wife is not doing well. Zahava Bas Malka Chana. So please have in mind Zahava Bas Malka Chana. Today's shir is being sponsored Le'ilu Nishmas Avrom Chana ben Yaakov Zev. Are you able to see that? Avram Chana ben Yaakov Zev. Also sponsored by Yosef Weisberg. Le'ilu Nishmas Shraga Feivel ben Meir Halevi. The Neshamas should have an aliyah. We do have a special email from...
Sponsored by Fischl also.
Sponsored by Fischl for... What is it?
That's in the WhatsApp. I don't know.
Okay, hold on. WhatsApp. L'rfuah Shleima. Rabbi Yerachmiel Shapiro, who learned Chavrusa with our son Shalom Yishai Zichron Levracha, and now learns with Chavrusa with Yibadal Chaim, our son Baruch Leib Yerachmiel ben Rachel Leah L'rfuah Shleima. All the Cholim should have L'rfuah Shleima. Dear Reb Eli, I have an amazing email I wanted to read, but this came in first. Hopefully I could get to it, and it has to do with Tisha B'Av. Dear Reb Eli, this is from Yosef Weisberg, Eugene Weisberg Photography here in Bet Shemesh. As I was reading, very interesting. He sponsored a full day. Today, two worlds collide. Sorry for the melodrama, but I have been learning Masechta Shabbos for over 7 years. Not be Eon, as much as very slowly. Hey, just think, I could have finished all of Shabbos by now. But it's amazing, he stuck to it. He started Shabbos and we went 7 years straight. What's happened instead is that I joined this amazing shir community, starting with Shabbos as a means of chazering those past many years of learning. The daf is exactly approaching where I'm holding with my chavrusa, daf kuf memhei. And I will Be'ezer Hashem be making a siyum with MDY before I even finish for the first or second time on my own. It's Le'ilu Nishmas, my uncle Phil Shraga Feivel ben Meir Halevi, and his love for learning that I'm sponsoring a full day of MDY shiurim. I heard it was on sale. He would have particularly loved that. As a performing magician since I was a kid, I've never been part of a shir that was this engaging, yes, entertaining. As a professional photographer, your sense of the visual enhances every daf. I also love to dabble with photography, by the way. So we got something here. Thank you and the entire MDY crew for your endless dedication. There's a comfort and simcha tuning in to you every single morning, and you broadcast from my hometown, Bet Shemesh. Your energy is contagious. With Hashem's help, I hope to stay in for the long run. Thanks for being my morning DJ. You guys know what DJ stands for? Daf Jockey. Yosef Eugene Weisberg. So I looked him up. It's like, oh, photographer in Bet Shemesh. And what picture pops up first? My barber, who's lovingly known as Gingy. You know why? Because he's a Gingy. But it's not that he calls himself that. So it's not a... So you should check him out. Gingy tells me that he's an amazing photographer. Here's this amazing email. We're running out of time. Maybe I'll read most of it. I'll read the rest of it, I guess, on Motzei Tisha B'Av, which, by the way, Motzei Tisha B'Av, there's a shir 9:30. Hopefully I'll be prepared. Hopefully my head will be there. Even before Corona brought your shir to Zoom, your style of teaching was funny and engaging to the point where I felt like I was sitting in the base measure with you. Your charts and pictures help explain definitely like no Rebbe or Maggid shir I've ever had. And I'm currently learning Gemara and Mishnah Berurah with 3 other Chavburas on almost a daily basis. So I'm purposely leaving my name off this email so I don't accidentally embarrass them in case you ever read this email in the regular they ever watch. The interaction in Zoom shir with the folks who would never make it to MDY brought your shir to a whole different level, especially watching the bonus after shir Zoom shmooze. I really had the opportunity to join your morning shir. It's late, and now it's brought from a dining time. Brings me face to face with you. The night shir he's talking about, the 9:59 shir. I'm just a simple balabas attitude is what keeps me going. and makes me realize there's no reason I can't learn and enjoy it too. Here's where this email goes into the Hall of Fame because it caused me to cry. Anyone that causes me to cry goes into the Hall of Fame. I was always taught we don't learn, I hope I don't cry now. I was always taught we don't learn anything but Tisha B'Av related topics on Tisha B'Av because learning brings one joy and we're not supposed to have that joy on Tisha B'Av. However, since learning with you, I proudly, for the first time in my life, actually enjoy learning Gemara. Even if I don't grasp every sugya. And this will surely be the first Tisha B'Av, I understand what the joy of learning is. I will truly miss not being able to learn with you this Wednesday night and Thursday. Why am I crying? Why am I choking up? Because that's all I care about. I care about bringing geschmack to learning. And here's somebody that has a geschmack now in learning, so that gives me nachas. But of course, I know I'll be able to catch it after the fast, like I do every Motzei Shabbos. Looking forward to spending the rest of the cycle learning with you. Okay. It's a long email, Givaldic email. Thank you, Yishkoyach. What's his name? It's SHA. Try to figure it out. Go to the phone book, SHA, Long Island, New York, USA. Yishkoyach. I hope his Maggid Shurim don't know the initials, SHA, and they'll be... So we are holding... So first of all, real quickly, I know we're running out of time here. Rabbi Isai, check this out. An amazing job that Nechemia Seltzer put together. There's 4 of these pages. Not that you could read them or anything, but they're 4. This went up on the chat, is going up on the website. What is this? These are, so far, 88 locations. 88. Yes, 88. What else? We have 16 different countries, 21 locations in Israel. Guess how many in the United States? 44 different locations in the United States. So I didn't count the continents yet. We got a bunch of continents. A great yishkoyach to Nechemia Seltzer, to Yosef Biliak and Yeshua Aaron Price, Noam Fix, all the guys that are behind the scenes working tirelessly to compile this list. It's very difficult with the phone numbers not matching. Some people don't want their phone numbers on. Let us know if you don't want your phone number on because we're about to publish it on the website. If that bothers you, let us know. We'll remove it immediately. If you know of other more exotic locations, we need to get to 100. Rabbi say 100 locations. All right. Whatever. Okay, maybe we'll talk about it later. We got to run. Says the Gemara. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Shmuel. We are holding 6 lines from the bottom of Daf Kuf Mem Daled Amud Beis. Says Shmuel. Soichet Adam Eshkol Shel Ha'anavim L'Toich HaGdeira. Amazing halacha. You could take grapes, squeeze them deliberately on Shabbos, even though squeezing is schita. It's not schita because what's the outcome? You're putting it into food. Schita means I'm separating the liquid from the food. But here I'm making food. I'm putting it in a pot. A pot is food. So therefore I'm taking food and making it food. Very interesting chiddush. It's like taking water from a sink and saying, the water in the sink is food because I'm making food. But that's what it is. But if you're going to squeeze out grape juice into a bowl, even if you're going to take the bowl later on and throw it into a pot, eventually it's going to end up as food. No, that's liquid, that's awesome. I can learn from Shmuel. So similar halacha. What's the isser of milking an animal? Same thing. Mefarik. I'm separating liquid from an animal from a salad. So it comes out that if I have a bowl of Cheerios underneath my cow, I can milk my cow directly into the Cheerios because then the milk turns into a solid. It turns into food. By the way, I keep on forgetting. Uncle Phil, Yishkoyach, thank you for working on all that stuff on the cameras, whatever. I always forget to talk about you. Yishkoyach, thanks for being there. But we got to run. Next time, we'll talk more. Because these liquids that go into salads become salads. How could that be? You have somebody that's tamei. Tumah ziva. It could be any tumah, but let's talk about zav for a second, because zav he's unique that even by moving things, he makes things tummy. If you view this milk as solid food, not as a liquid, so if zav shechav says hachalav tamei, the milk becomes tamei. How does the milk become tamei? In order for milk to become tamei, if it's a liquid, fine. But if it's a salad could only become tamei, like we discussed yesterday, if it's mukhshel kabel tuma. If a liquid touched the salad, you have an apple doesn't become tamei until one of the 7 liquids touch it. So how does this salad, let's call it cheese. We view this cheese, a salad coming out of a goat, out of a cow, it's salad now. Why is it salad? Because it's going into your Cheerios. So what made it tamei? I need liquid to touch the salad in order for it to become tamei. Says the Gemara, I have to say a different idea. The Kedom Rabbi Yochanan says somewhere else. You're talking about, in order to start the milking process, to make it easier, you take some of the milk, you put it on the udder itself. And that causes it to come out easier, but that's milk. That's already a liquid. Oh, so there's a liquid hanging around at the opening of the udder, and as the salad comes out, it touches that liquid, and in return it becomes tamei. Hachanami, so we have to use Rabbi Yochanan's idea in our sugya. B'tipa meluchleches al pi adad. Masav Ravina, ask Ravina a question. Tamei meishes sochad zeisim va'anovim kibeitzo mechuvenes tar. You have a person that touched a dead person. He himself is a tamei meis. He's very tamei, and he starts squeezing out olives and grapes. So, if it's exactly a kibeitza, the amount that he's squeezing is exactly a kibeitza. In order for my food to be metama another food, I need a full share of a kibeitza. So it's a catch-22 here. It's a trick. You start out with a kibeitza, and the juices inside these grapes do not become tamei just by the mere fact of me touching the outside of them. So the juices could only be tamei if they touch food that's tamei, and that's a kazayis. But as soon as I give it a good kvetch, and juices come out, and I want to make those juices that come out tamei, then the grapes are no longer kibeitza. They just lost the juices that were inside of them. So I don't have a kibeitza. I don't have a kibeitza to make them tamei, so they don't become tamei. Ha, yoisim kibeitza. But it seems like I can be medayik if it's more than a kibeitza. So now the food that's tamei is touching liquid that comes out of them, and I have enough of a shear to do so. What if the human being himself touched the liquids? Liquids become tamei even b'mashu. So they would become tamei immediately. But we're talking about that the person is not touching the liquids, the food is touching the liquids. The food needs to be a kibeitza size. You don't have a kibeitza once you squeeze it. But if it's larger than a kibeitza, you do have a kibeitza, tamei. Ask the Gemara the same question, but if this liquid that emerges out of the food is considered food sometimes when you're putting into other food, how did this liquid become tamei? It never touched other liquids. The liquid that comes out is not a liquid, it's a salad halachically. That salad, when did it touch another liquid? He asked the question, he realized the answer on his own. When he only squeezes it into a bowl. Because if he squeezes it into food, you're right, we have a problem. 4 lines down from the top of Kuf Mem Hey Omid Aleph. It's unbelievable. I'm just thinking, my brain is racing here. You have this terrible tragedy with Mrs. Epstein. Dr. Epstein's on our shir. You'll see him on the first screen every single morning. He's been with us for 2 years. They're like the nicest couple you've ever met in your life. She has the machla, but nothing to do with it. Because she's going through radiation, she caught some sort of thing. They don't even know what it is. And she's literally on life support. When did this happen? In the 9 days. And now Ephraim Friedman is telling me his wife very sick. And 10 years ago, this week during the 9 days, I used to own a plane. I'm a pilot. I used to fly a lot. And my plane used to park next to Moshe Menorah's plane. He was like a role model. He owned a lot of real estate. He used to fly from property to property. And I like the same thing. I used to fly to my property, pretend I'm chashuv. And then one day, during the 9 days, he was going on a trip with his grandchildren, and the famous story, he crashed his plane, and 3 of his grandchildren got killed with him. And that day, I never flew again, because I came home, my wife was crying. She said, "Look how dangerous it is. It's dangerous. Please don't fly." I worked really hard to get that license, but that was it. It was 10 years ago. I never stepped into a small plane again. So, the 9 days, terrible times, terrible, terrible times. All right, we should hear Psuras Toivos. Omer B'Yirmiyah, Ketanoi. Hamachlik ba'anovim loy huchshar. So, today we wash the challah with egg yolk. We take egg and we go like this. We give it like a shine. So in those days, I don't know if they knew about it, didn't know about it, they would use grapes. They had a lot of grapes. They would smear some grape juice on it, and it would achieve a similar effect, I guess. Give it a shine. Lo yuchshar. That's not considered a mashka. When you squeeze your grapes in order to put it on a challah, what's a challah? A challah is a salad. So you're taking grape juice and putting on a salad. Now you're not looking at a liquid anymore. You're looking at a salad. Rabbi Yehuda Imer Huchshar. So we have a machlokes. Is it a salad? Is it a liquid? My lab, welcome Ivligi. L'chayra, it's a similar machlokes. Mar sovar mashka bala oichel. That's our machlokes. Since it's coming for a salad bread, so it has halacha of bread, and therefore it's not machshel l'kabel tuma. Umar sovar lav oichelo. It's not food. It's a liquid. So it has the ability, like all the 7 liquids, to make other foods tummy. No, everybody says that liquids that come for food is not considered food. Oh, maybe there's a new machlokes here. What's going on here? I'm smearing my grape juice on the bread. What's going to happen? In 5 minutes I put it in the oven. It's going to evaporate. So I'm destroying it, the Gemara understands, at this point. You could argue. The Gemara understands that it's destroying it. And if it's destroying it, so it's not a liquid. A liquid is here to stay, but I just have it that it should evaporate soon. So one man will hold it's not a mashka because of that. Similar to another machlokes, which the Gemara says no, not true. The sanyo, if I crush my olives, why do I crush my olives? To sweeten them up. With dirty hands, meaning halachically dirty hands. If we wash our hands before we eat bread, why? Because of this halacha. Because your hands, halachically, midrabanan, are always considered a sheni, a darga of sheni l'tuma, which makes a shlishi. Meaning, my hands have the ability to ruin truma, ruin kachim. Unless I put my hands in a mikveh for kachim, or unless I wash my hands with a kli like we do, to get rid of the tumah for truma. Fine. So if I have yadayim suavos, I have hands that I didn't put in a mikvah, I didn't wash them, and I start crushing my olives, huchshar. So this liquid that comes out of the olive is enough of a liquid. Why? It helps me. I like this liquid. It makes it better. It makes it sweeter. L'saftim b'melach. But if I'm crushing my olives just so that the salt could adhere to the outside of the olive. So I don't want liquids to come out. I want everything to stay in. I just want them to be crushed. Lo yochshar. That's not considered liquid. Now there's a third reason I would crush my olives. Leida migiu zeisav limsoy lav. Excuse me. To know whether or not it reached the point where I could send them off to the press. Lo yochshar. I certainly don't want to lose fluids over there. No, in this case also that's enough. My lab b'hakam ifligi. So what's machlokes? The marasov mashkoim and libul mashkehu. Yes, it's going to get lost. I know it's going down the drain, but nevertheless it's considered mashka. Umarasov ala mashku. Same sort of question that we have over here. No, Hanatanoi, when it comes to crushing olives, yeah, you're right. That's a question of whether liquids that come out and you know that they're going to waste, but I need to do it anyway because I need to check the olive or whatever it is. Okay, fine, we have a machlokes. V'hanoch tanoi, but by us, in the case of egg washing, grape washing, call it whatever you want, that's a different shaila. This, the fact that I am making a sheen here on my bread, is that considered a salad or not? So it's a different shaila. In other words, look, if you take a look at the bread, why is it shining? It's shining because there's a grape wash here. So you can't say it's li'ibud, you can't say it went to waste, it's still here. It achieved what I needed it to do. So it's still here, so you can't say that it's the same machlokes of going to waste. When I crush an olive and the oil runs it down on the floor, now I know if it's ready for the press or not. Fine. That's a typical case of going to waste. But over here, how can you say it's going to waste? It's on the bread. So what's the shaila? The shaila is a different shaila. If I take grapes and I do a wash to my bread, is that considered a salad or not? Omar Abzera Bar Chia, Omar Abzera, Omar Chia Bar Ashi, Omar Rav. Here comes Rav. Not Shmuel, until now we had Shmuel. Comes along Rav, so he says the same halacha. That I'm allowed to squeeze grapes into a pot, meaning that liquids that go into a salad, halachically they have a halacha of salad, not into a bowl. Now, I was thinking while this morning, I'm not saying anything la halacha, just out loud here. Think about this, tuna fish. A lot of people hate it, but think about it anyway. A can of tuna that you open, and a lot of people, they take the cover, they flip it over, they squeeze the tuna, and out comes all the water or whatever. What halacha is that? Is that a problem on Shabbos or not a problem on Shabbos? Is that schita? Think about that. You're squeezing the water out of the tuna. What kind of water is it? So here, let's learn some halachas, and then we'll talk about it again, hopefully. Yoser Avdimi b'kol amar lo laho shmaitza. But I thought about an interesting chap that you might not think about initially. Amalei Abayler Avdimi. So they were sitting around, and Ravdimi, v'dog litziroi. Oh, Yossi Klein was getting excited. I almost skipped the word here. V'dag litziroi. And if you take a fish and you squeeze it real good, you take care and you squeeze it. Afilu l'toicha ka'ara. The brine of fish is considered food, so it doesn't matter where you squeeze it into. If you squeeze food from food, then you're not over on schita. So even if you squeeze it into a bowl, not into a pot, you're not over. And he said it over. Abai tells Rav Dimi, you're saying this over in the name of Rav, not a problem. Anan mishmei de Shmuel masninu. We have this halacha that if you squeeze brine out of a fish, it's not a problem. And we said it in the name of Shmuel, that creates a problem because Shmuel seems to contradict this. If you squeeze a fish into a bowl, that it's not a problem. You have pickles, vegetables that you pickle. Today it's called a pickle. It's a vegetable, it's a cucumber that you put in some whatever, into vinegar, it turns into a pickle. What happens if you squeeze it? Omarav, ligufon mutar. If you're squeezing it so you don't want it to be so soggy and so full of liquid, you give it a good fetch. So it's okay because you're not squeezing the liquids out for the liquids, you're squeezing it for the salad. But if you want pickle juice or whatever other type of vegetable you're trying to squeeze here, barsht, pater, aval aser. Now this is very interesting halacha. Because what are you squeezing? Think about it. What are you squeezing? You're squeezing water that doesn't belong, says Rashi, doesn't belong in this vegetable. You introduced that water to the vegetable. It's not water from a vegetable. It's not that you're squeezing an orange, you're getting orange juice. You put water, you put it in a bowl, into a vat, you threw a bunch of water and vinegar, and that water and vinegar went into your cucumber, then you squeeze that water out of the cucumber, says Rashi, then that's not considered schita. Everybody starts screaming, what do you mean, Rashi? So what? So I'm allowed to take a sponge and absorb water and then squeeze it out because I introduced the water into the sponge? So they say, you're right, that's a very good question, but we're talking about food. And food, Rashi says that you cannot introduce water to it and expect somebody to be over is the rice by squeezing that water out. Sponge is different, clothing is different. So therefore, if you squeeze a pickle to get the juice out, it's pater avalas. In other words, it's a issa d'Rabbanan, it's a gzeira. You might come to squeeze grapes tomorrow. If I allow you to squeeze a pickle, tomorrow you're going to squeeze a grape. Ushlakais, what about cooked vegetables? Bein legufan, bein lemeimeim mutar. So to squeeze cooked vegetables, this is, I guess, borscht, even better. Any cooked vegetable, soup, a nice vegetable soup, start squeezing it out. Even if you do it to squeeze out the water, mutar, because that's not the derech. Nobody squeezes the stuff out. We already had discussion. It's not the derech to be Hungarian and drink borscht. That's not the derech. Fine. So going back for a second to the tuna, I don't know if it's a good mashal. I'm just throwing this out there. Tuna is cooked in water, so l'chayra it shouldn't be that big of a problem. However, the thing that I was thinking about is that since you're squeezing it with the can, that can is a kli. You're not doing it with your hand, and that could create an issue. You're doing bayrer with a kli. Fine. Anyway, just a thought, not passing anything. Just because in these things you have to think from all different angles. Are you talking about schita? Are you squeezing the water out of the fish? Which we said squeezing brine out of fish is not a problem. But this is water that was introduced to the tuna through cooking, I think. You're squeezing that out, might not be a problem, but the way you're squeezing it with the can, which is a kli, could be a problem with bayr. That's all I'm saying. Ushmul Amar, echad kfashim, vechad shlakois, legufa mutar, lememeim pater av asur. So he says even kvashim, even shlakois that you do for water is asur midrabanan. There's an isur midrabanan here. So the problem is, what about the brine of fish? It should be asur, according to this. Why do we say that fish brine is mutter? And right over here he says that cooked vegetables is asur midrabanan. So fish brine should also be asur midrabanan. For the same gzeira, I might come to squeeze a grape. Amar lei halachic. That's a lashon of a shvua. I swear. Ein ro v'lo zar. My own eyes saw who said it, not a stranger. In other words, I heard it straight from Rabbi Yirmiyah. And Rabbi Yirmiyah heard it straight from Rabbi Zera. I only heard it 4 steps away. And he swears that that's exactly what happened. We have to assume these are Amoraim. They know exactly, it's exact. And therefore, this came from Rav, not from Shmuel, so you don't have a question. I have beautiful sources. I heard from one gadol, from the next gadol, from the next gadol, all the way to Rav. Great. By the way, just very interesting thing that I saw this morning. The Mechaber brings down the halacha, and he paskins like Rav. He goes back and forth. And then, before I go, let's keep on going. Gufa. Kvashim shesachtan. So you have these pickles that you squeezed. Amarav, we had this. Legufan mutar, if you squeeze you don't want the juice. You just want a good pickle that's allowed on Shabbos. Limemeyim, if you wanted liquids, patal aval asur, it's asim derabanan. Ushlakais, and if you have cooked vegetables, bein legufan, bein limemeyim, doesn't matter. Mutar, 100% mutar lechatchila to squeeze a carrot in your soup on Shabbos. Nobody does it. Ushmul Amar echad zeh vechad zeh legufan mutar lememeyim pater alav asur. Shmuel is more machmer. He says even soup you're not allowed to squeeze the vegetables. Rabbi Yochanan Amar comes Rabbi Yochanan echad kfashim echad shlakos legufan mutar lememeyim chayav chatos. He goes to the extreme. You're chayav chatos. It's an iser because people do squeeze these things. Plenty of people make puree out of carrots, out of whatever. They squeeze it. They do borscht. Therefore, you're chayav chatos. Meisvei, So we have a brisa here that's a problem for everybody. Soichtim kvashim b'Shabbos, l'tzorich haShabbos. Doesn't say for what. In other words, even for their water, kvashim, pickles. No one argues on pickles that if I squeeze a pickle for the juice, I'm chayiv. Everybody says you're chayiv. What does this brisa say? Soichtim kvashim b'Shabbos, l'tzorich haShabbos. You're allowed to squeeze a pickle. Rav, Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, everybody says it's asur. Comes a brisa and says it's mutter. Shabbos, don't do it for the weekday. V'zeisim, v'anovim le'yischot. And you shouldn't do it for olives and grapes. V'imsochat chayav chatas, and if you do it, you're chayav chatas. Kashi l'Rav, Kashi l'Shmuel, Kashi l'Rabbi Yochanan, it's kash on everybody. Says the Gemara, the same teretz for everybody basically. In other words, you have to add a bunch of words. Rav mitaris l'tamei, Shmuel mitaris l'tamei, Rabbi Yochanan mitaris l'tamei. Rabbi Taris the Tamei, Soichatin Kvashim b'Shabbos l'tzorich haShabbos. You could squeeze for Shabbos, aval loy l'matzei Shabbos. Okay. B'medvar mamurim legufon. So he sticks in here, aval l'mimeyim, for to drink it, potter aval asur. No, you have to add to the brisa. It's potter aval asur. U'shlogas bein legufon bein l'mimeyim mutar. Okay, that's what he says. If it's cooked vegetables, it's mutter. But olives and grapes, v'msachtam and saucer, v'msachtam chayav chatas is a deraisa. Shmuel mataris tamei. Shmuel's going to stick in his words into the brisa the way he feels like, because we're missing stuff here. It doesn't make sense. This brisa. He puts everything in the same category: pickles and cooked vegetables. Only if you want to eat the actual vegetable. But if you want the water, everything is asim d'Rabbanon, even cooked vegetables. And he agrees that if you squeeze an olive or a grape on Shabbos, it's a deraisa. Rabbi Yochanan and comes Rabbi Yochanan and says, he adds his words. It doesn't matter what category. It could be pickled and it could be cooked. You're chayav. He actually fits it nicer. It's as if it's the category of grapes and olives, and you're chayav achatas. Bottom line is, there's no bottom line. The Shulchan Aruch says, if you need the water, you're allowed to do it into the car. Fine. I just want to bring this point out. Taisus brings this Rabbeinu Chananel right here, that Allah is like Rabbi Yochanan, that you're chayav achatos if you squeeze out cooked vegetables or pickled vegetables. But first, the Shulchan Aruch paskins one way. Then he says, Rabbeinu Chananel, I just found this fascinating. The Mishnah Berurah says, why does the Mechaber bring Rabbeinu Chananel? He already paskin, not like Rabbeinu Chananel, not like Rabbi Yochanan. So he says, Lahayros, the toiv la, anytime, so this is a side in life, anytime the Mechaber brings a second shita, it's to tell you, the toiv la'achmer b'kidvar. It's a good idea to do like the second shita, v'hamachmer tava elav bracha, and if you do it like the second shita, you get a bracha. Fine, that's it. Not for, but Taisus paskins like Rabbeinu Chananel, or the Rabbeinu Chananel, he brings the Rabbeinu Chananel, that anytime Rabbi Yochanan goes against Rav and Shmuel, Allah is like Rabbi Yochanan. Fine. But the Shulchan Aruch doesn't pass like that. Says the Gemara, Omer Rab Chia bar Ashi Omer Rav, Dvar Torah ein chayav elo al drisa zeis v'anom b'vad. Midaraisa only chayav if you squeeze olives and grapes. V'chein tana de be'vinashe Dvar Torah ein chayav elo al drisa zeis v'anom b'vad. Oh, and finally one halacha that has nothing to do with us. I have to tell you this one real quickly. I know we only have 11 minutes left. But we have Matzah Tisha B'Av. When the shir is 9:30, you could go all the way to 11. And Noam's not going to be there, so it doesn't matter. We'll get there. Fine. Interesting halacha. How do you make lemonade? So the Mishnah Berurah, the Mechaber, they talk about it. Lemonade. And I saw the Ben Ish Chai says, there's a way to remember. First you put the sugar in there, then you squeeze the lemon, and then you put the water in. That's how you could do it on Shabbos. And his way to remember is salam, like shalom. Salam. Sukar, limon, mayim. Great. And Ramosha Feinstein says that's only when it comes to lemon because it's not edible. People don't squeeze that to drink. But let's say grapefruit doesn't work that way. Very interesting chiddush. And how do we make lemon? I just said it for us. How do we make lemonade? Oh, you give us a siyum that's not going to work, and we make the biggest, baddest siyum in the world with 100 different locations. We make lemonade out of lemons. That's how we make lemonade. Anyway, Zok the Gemara. Ve'ein eid mepi eid, kosher. One more halacha, nothing to do with Masechta Shabbos. But once he's saying halachas here, he's going to say halacha, Daf Kuf Mem Hey Amud Beis, sponsored by Shia Greenfield from Green Star Electrical Contracting. Now what if I hear testimony from another aid, and it might have to do with the Gemara that we had before, I'm just thinking now out loud, because he heard testimony, and he said, I saw with my own eyes. Fine. But there's no eidos, real eidos, testimony that comes from another aid. Elo leidus isha b'avad. But when it comes to aguna, a woman who doesn't know if her husband died or not, we could take testimony from an aid, from a witness that heard from another witness. Why? Because of the concept, they call them Mekadesh, Adaita de Rabbanan Mekadesh. Rabbanan have the right to retroactively undo the Kedushin. They'll nullify the Kedushin. In this particular case, they'll say, listen, we don't have a choice. We have a woman here that can't get married. Her husband disappeared on us. We are going to, even if he's alive, she's not a Eish Ish because we nullified the Kedushin. Ibailu, Emepi Eid, La'id is B'char Ma'u. The halacha is by a B'char, if you have a firstborn animal, those of you who haven't been with us in Masechtas B'charis, dealt with it extensively, you have a firstborn B'char, you give it to a Kain. He brings it on Mizbeach, then he gets to eat part of it. If it has a mum, a blemish, that he didn't cause, then he can eat it as is. So he gains. So now we have to be careful. What if the Kain puts blemishes? He wants more meat. He has a big family. He has to support. So he goes and he gives it a gezunta zetz when nobody's looking, and he says, "Oh, I can't bring it to the mizbeach." That zetz needs eidus. Can I use an aid mipi aid? Says Gemara, Ravami Osir Ravasi Shari Machlaikis. Amalei Ravami Ravasi. What about our mission? What about over here? It says Vatana the Beit Menashe said, "Ein mipi aid kosher elaladis isha bavad." He says specifically, you cannot use an aid that heard it from another aid. Only one special condition in case called an aguna, but not by a b'char. Says Gemara, no. You think I don't know about that one? I knew. I'm reading it differently than you. Not edus, not a testimony for an aguna, rather a testimony that a woman testifies. Nothing to do with an aguna. Anything that a woman is kosher for, one aid could testify mipi eid acher. So over here also, a woman could testify. And believe it or not, he was right. And he said, therefore, I could use one testimony that I heard from another aid, a witness from a witness. Merema was very unhappy with this. He said, Yemar Shari, Meremar Yemar Shari Bukhra. So he said, Yemar, it allows b'chayras for no reason. Similar to what we had the other day. Not really, but we had. He allows fat. You should allow chaylev. Happens to be, he was right. One aid, you could take a witness, you hear from a witness that the b'char had a mum, that's how he's born, the kohen didn't inflict it, and we could go with it. Chalois dvash. So going back to the Mishnah, talking about these guys, the honeycombs. So he breaks the honeycomb with a tool, Erev Shabbos, and then it oozes out through Shabbos. Yosef Rabbi Shai ben Arda says very similar halacha. And he said, Zeisim anovim, shiriskim Erev Shabbos. Same halacha applies to grapes and olives. If I crush them before Shabbos, biyatzim ha'atzmim asurim, it's asur. Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shimon matirim, Rabbi Shimon matir. Omer Rabbi Yosef, gaver yatir as lashminon. Isn't that identical case? Olives, grapes, what's the difference? Honey, all the same thing. Says the Gemara. There's a huge chiddush. When it comes to honey, it's food, and then it remains food, so nothing happened. I didn't change, right? We said schita is when you change the composition. It stayed. Now everybody points out here, honey is not a solid, it's a liquid. But that's the point. It's the same thing. In other words, the idea is the same. It started as one thing, and ended up as one. You want to call it food, it ended up food. You want to call it liquid, it started as a liquid, ended up as a liquid. But by grape, the mikar uchla was a salad. Or and then it ended up a different composition completely, it turned into liquid. I would think not, Kamash Malan. So I'm not adding names. I'm not name dropping here. Oh, and Reb Shimon holds like this also. No, Reb Shimon is talking about olives and grapes. It's a completely different food. Says the Mishnah, Kol sheba b'chamim erev Shabbos. If I cooked something in water, completely cooked it before Shabbos, shoyer and oisay b'chamim Shabbos. This is the famous halacha called ein bishul acher bishul. So, if it's already cooked, so then I could go ahead, like with the red arrows, it's cooked, I put it on a plate, it's already cooled off, it's in the refrigerator, I could go toss it into a kli rishon, which just came off the flame, and I don't have a problem even on Shabbos. Why am I doing this? Because I want to soften it up. As the Gemara is going to say, it's a really disgusting food, chicken that you soften up to the point, it's terrible. I want to soften it up. But if I didn't cook it before Shabbos, so I have some sort of meat that I could eat without cooking, I could rinse it, I could pour here, like you see right over here, the blue arrow, I'm pouring a kli rishon onto my food. That's okay. Why? Because rinsing is not cooking. Besides, if it's very aged fish, that's a year old, it's aged for a year. What's that? We have a picture. It's called the Spanish mackerel. Bekitzer, it's like a tuna. It is a tuna. Some people say it's a tuna. I like this picture. I like the name Spanish mackerel. So we go with that. That's how the art scroll translates it. So anything that's salty, and I have to get rid of the salt, or that it's the final touch, and rinsing is what allows me to eat it, that's also to do on Shabbos, because I'm finishing. Gemar Malach on Shabbos is also. What exactly do I want to soak in hot water on Shabbos? This chicken that's so soft, like puree chicken, disgusting, it's for refuah. One day, I went over there, and I was in Bavel, and I ate it. For not the fact that Rabbi gave me gewaldige geschmack of wine that was 3 years old, it nasi. I would just vomit everywhere. It was so disgusting. Rabbi Yochanan Raik mikutach de Bavloi. Rabbi Yochanan was from Eretz Yisrael. Anytime he even thought about a kutach, which is like sour milk with dough, it's a whole. Also, anytime you read it, you kind of get grossed out. They used to eat it in Bavel. He said he used to spit. He used to get grossed out just thinking about it. Rav Yosef, this seems to be like a turf war here, like some sort of fight going on between the Baveloim and the Eretz Yisrael Dika. These Americanish guys, they like Gala, and he says no, they like this. Rav Yosef, oh, you think our food is disgusting? What about your puree chicken that you like so much? I could spit on that too. I once went to Eretz Yisrael, and I introduced them to this amazing sour milk with all sorts of crazy things in it. And all the sick people in Eretz Yisrael wanted to get their hands on it. So don't pretend that you hate it so much. You guys loved it. What if you're not supposed to pour the water on it on Shabbos because you didn't cook it up before Shabbos, and you did you rinsed it on Shabbos? What's the halacha? It's a deraisa. We've learned it says mefurish in the Mishnah. You're not allowed to pour water on the tuna. Rinse it with hot water. Because that is what allows you to eat it. That it's Isser Deraisa. Says the Gemara story. These Talmidim were sitting in front of Rabbi Yochanan. They go Adar. I have no idea how many times in Shas this saying is said. So many times that the Amoraim used to fall asleep. I guess they were so tired. They were learning all night. They constantly took a little nap. Sometimes the Gemara tells us that it's like it was on purpose to hear what they're saying. Fine. So the Talmidim start discussing between themselves. Always a bad idea in front of the Rebbe. Why do you think the birds in Chutz La'aretz and Bavel are fat? Go to Eretz Yisrael, in Midbar of Gaza. I'll show you birds that are even fatter. Don't ask me such kashas. How come in Bavel everybody's so excited when Yom Tov comes along, but in Eretz Yisrael not so much? Because in Bavel they're so poor, so they have a tremendous simcha when it comes to Yom Tov, whereas in Eretz Yisrael not so much. How come the Talmid Chacham wear such beautiful frocks and such nice clothing? You can learn both ways. Fine, we'll learn because the Talmid Chacham are not that learned as much as in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, they have to gain respect by the clothes that they wear. Why do Goyim have zuama, like a spiritual impurity? Because they eat all sorts of bats in China that cause COVID. So this is an invisible impurity, but this stuff causes zuama. All of a sudden, itarbu Rabbi Yochanan wakes up. Amar lahu, dardike, my children, this is a tremendous insight. It says in the pasuk, tell the chachma, the wisdom, you're my sister. Never open your mouth if you're not 100% certain what you're saying. Don't just stop make stuff up. Don't just say things. So maybe Rebbe could help us out and give us some answers. You know why they're so fat? They didn't migrate. They were stuck there. Migration takes a lot of fat off the body. We all know if you have to travel, some of these birds, 7,000 miles, whatever they travel, it's going to burn off fat. Shenemar, Shanan Moyav Menurav, Vishoiketu El Shmarav, Ubagoyle, he never went to Galus. Vacham and all in the Galu. And now you know our birds, they went to Galus. The time in Eretz Yisrael. Yehuda Omer. Nun Beishana, 52 years. Loy Avar Ish Yehuda. It was desolate. Nobody there in Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar. Al Heorim Esa V'Chivonei. Tomorrow's Haftarah. Isn't that unbelievable? A pasuk from tomorrow's Haftarah. Everybody left. So how do you see 52 years? They were gone. No birds, nothing. Behema. This is my favorite gematria. When I said this over, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, some of you guys were shaking your head. Behema is 52. How do I know this gematria so well? Because Kelev, dog, is also 52. And guess what else is 52? Eliyahu. Fine. So Behema, Kelev, and Eliyahu all have the same gematria. So it's a hint that for 52 years they weren't in Eretz Yisrael. They all came back to Eretz Yisrael besides this tuna fish, this Spaniard mackerel. They all went back through this river. And these fish, they don't have a strong spine. All right, let's stop over here. We have some work cut out for us. For Motzei Tisha B'Av, Rabbi Isai have a very meaningful fast. Motzei Tisha B'Av, 9:30 Be'ezer Hashem. If you can't catch it on the live, you can catch it on Zoom, on YouTube. You can catch it on Torah anytime. Catch it on our app. You can catch it on the website. Have a very meaningful fast.
Shir Malois, Mimama Kim Krosif Adonai.
Shir Malois, Mimama Kim Krosif Adonai.
Adonai, Shema B'Keli, Tenor Zachar Kashvos Akot Adonai.
Adonai, Shema B'Keli, Tenor Zachar Kashvos Akot Adonai.
Ima Avanois Tishmao Ya Adonai Mi Amoi.
Ima Avanois Tishmao Ya Adonai Mi Amoi.
Kim Chas Lichol Leman Tivorei.
Kim Chas Lichol Leman Tivorei. ביסד מגזר נפשי דברי יכולתי נפשי לאדינוי שומרים לבויקר יחי ישראל לאדינוי כמעט אדינוי החסד והרבה מוי פדוס והוא יבדס ישראל כל הבן יסוב אחינו כבס ישראל הנשאנו בצור ובשיבה העומדים בין ביום ובין ביבשה המוקים ירחם עליהם ויציב מצור לבוכה ואפילו לא יום שידו לגול השתו Bagalo uvizman koriv v'nimar omein. And official, Yerachmiel ben Rachel Leah, l'refuah shlema. And Zahaba bas Malka Chana l'refuah shlema b'koroiv. Shkoyach. Are you guys able to unmute?
Yeah.
Only Yoel Bergman is able to unmute. Should go to you guys. Easy fast, a meaningful fast. That's more important, I guess.
What is it with the new website? Why the new website for MTY?
I think it's geared for the shear, more for the full shear versus the 8-minute daf. But it's a good kasha. All these questions you have to ask Gary. Gary's in charge of that. How do you know there's a new website, Yoel? Who told you?
Wait, no, are you talking about WhatsApp or the website?
WhatsApp.
Which WhatsApp are you talking about? We set up for the different for the different areas
No,
around the world.
the website.
He said a website.
The same website, not WhatsApp.
Now you have to speak to Gary. Send Gary a message.
How can I do that? I don't have any. I don't know.
Send it to the dafbrama, but say it's for Gary, and I'll make sure he gets it.
So wait a minute, Yosef, it's going through you, so you might as well just go straight to him right now. You're trying to get out of this, Yosef, you see?
I have no idea. No one's told me anything.
I'm kidding.
Just I sign up for it.
Hold on, those people who wanted to use the website to get to Zoom, there's still a few of you. When you go to the website, you'll see there's still a tab on the website that says Zoom. Also, at the very bottom of the website, there's an image of a video or something, which is also the link to the Zoom.
It's a link to you, not the Zoom.
Say again?
It's a link to you.